We're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Board where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. And I'm joined today by EGT, Earl Grey Trekkie, and Sub Commander Tall, and we're here to talk about the Deadly Years. Are they the
Yeah,
Deadly Years?
they're deadly. They're definitely deadly. Like getting old sucks, but yeah.
It does. I can actually attest to that. I'm
Yep.
still dealing with lower back pain and
Oh, tell me
other
about it.
old people things, and so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
true.
Yeah, I was just thinking, in fact, like, I used to not like this episode when I was young, but now, I watched it a couple weeks ago for All Star Trek or BTV Star Trek, and I'm like, wow, I relate to this now. I feel like I feel their pain. So, yeah.
Robbie, are we annoying you with our old people complaints?
No, no. I was just going to say. I imagine I would call the years between having no Star Trek is probably the deadly years.
Oh,
I
very
wasn't
nice.
really a fan then. I hadn't got into Star Trek then, but I can imagine it would have been difficult.
But see, you're thinking like what, 2005 to 2009, or you said that. My first thing was, oh, he's talking about 1969 to 1979. Those were the deadly years. But
Oh,
yeah,
any years really.
yes, I agree.
Those were definitely still the frontier years as far as Star Trek is concerned before it became an institution as it is now.
Yeah.
I don't think people had like Star Trek Picard swag and oh here I'll show off my Pride Pride Delta shirt and things like that. But they had a lot of chutzpah and they brought this show that got canceled back
Yes.
back onto the big screen, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the
if
rest is
we're
history.
if we're sharing shirts, I'll quickly share. This is another threadbare thing from when I was 15. I don't know if you can see any of this. It's from a convention in the late 80s, I would guess. But it's nice to have an excuse to wear these things again.
That's
They've just been in my
amazing.
closet collecting dust. So yeah.
Very cool, very cool. I guess there's a lot of folks in the chat. I'll
Oh,
highlight
good.
a few. Hello, Jace. Hello, Corbomite strikes again. It's true. It's the second use of the Corbomite maneuver. That's right. Trek Cat who says, "Sorry I couldn't join you. Not feeling too good. We hope you feel better, but maybe stick around in the chat. That'd be cool. You can give us a listen and maybe have a laugh or two." And then let's see. Cake is Eternal is here as well. Hello, Cake. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So who wants to do the episode summary?
I don't mind trying.
Yes.
It's been a little okay. It's been a little while, but it wasn't that long ago that I saw this one.
Take command. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So where are we? We're kind of halfway through the second season at this point, or somewhere around there. And I think the Enterprise, it's visiting planet Gamma Hydra 4, not Gamma Hydra 2, which interestingly in Star Trek 2 at the beginning of the
The
film.
Gamma Hydra sector.
That's right. Yeah, which
Yeah.
again is a neutral zone thing, but of course in the film it's the Klingon neutral zone. In the story, in this episode, it's the Romulan neutral zone. Yeah. And they're there to meet up with some researchers or colonists and kind of check their status. And some of our principals beam down, and the colonists are not meeting them as planned. And they start to explore and check off entering one of the cute little, I guess it's like a mini house, or what do you call those? Tiny house. Tiny house. This is sort of like what they live in there.
With
Enters
no
in the
doors,
dark.
I guess. Like it's just like the
That's
doors, right. I don't
that's
think
right.
there were doors, right?
No, he just walks in and suddenly sees a dead body there of a very elderly person. And since he has the best scream of any of the actors, he was probably chosen for that. And he rushes out, scared to death, which will come in, which will be relevant later. And the rest of the crew goes in to see this guy. And as they're wondering what's the deal, because no one on this planet was this old, no one in the colony was that old, then two more really elderly people walk in. Robert Johnson and Elaine, his wife, and the teaser ends with them declaring their ages to be 29 and 27 when they're surely looking a lot older than that. In fact, interesting fun fact about Robert Locker, who plays Robert Johnson, I don't know if he was the oldest actor to appear in Star Trek, but he's certainly born the earliest. He was born in 1882. So of any actor
Wow.
that has appeared in any Star Trek franchise, he was born the earliest.
1882. Wow.
Yeah. So he was already 80
Crazy.
in his early 80s at this episode,
It's amazing.
back when it was filmed. Yeah, cool. So they go back to the ship, and of course, there's some disease, as there always is. And it turns out no, they don't find out initially that they're exposed. They go back, and there's a brief conference where we see two other guests who are on board. One is Commodore Stalker, who is eager to begin his new duties at Starbase 10, I think, and the other is an old flame from Kirk's past, Janet Wallace, who's a scientist of sorts. So we meet those two characters, and they're trying to figure out what happened to these colonists. Why are they? Why did they get so old so quickly? And it's some sort of degenerative disease. They don't know what the cause is, and before they can really determine anything, both surviving members die, and as you might expect, suddenly our principals start to feel little signs of maybe aging. Initially, Kirk feels some muscle aches and ends up being arthritis, or he starts to forget commands that he's been given. And then we see Scotty appear in the sick bay, and he's obviously aging at a fast rate. So now it's a race against time. The crew has got this disease that they're trying to find the cause of. But they only have a few days, not the whole crew, just the landing party, except for Chekhov, right? Except for Chekhov, he doesn't have it. So they're trying to figure out why Chekhov doesn't have it and why the rest of them do, and what the cause of it is. And there's some speculation: could it be a new Romulan weapon? Could it be a comet that passed through the area? They don't know yet. And as the show goes on, we learn that Commodore Stalker is becoming increasingly concerned about the capacity of Captain Kirk to lead the ship as he's starting to become in decline, and he eventually prevails upon Mr. Spock to call a competency hearing. Everybody loves a trial.
How do they have the time for a competency hearing?
Yeah, when they're aging 30 years for each day, or whatever it is. But
Kirk actually says so much in the episode.
Yes, it's true. But they do hold it because they're obviously getting older. Kirk is forgetting more. He noticeably forgets the number of the planet they're on, and then also the code that the Romulans have broken, which they have broken code 2, which I guess came through whatever the timeline Twitter feed is of Starfleet. That's big news out there. So they've broken code 2. Anyway, meanwhile McCoy is working, and Dr. Wallace is working on an antidote for this, and Kirk has some introspective moments about his relationship with Janet Wallace that they had in the past, and she ended up marrying a much older man, and he's wondering if some of the feelings she seems to be expressing now are genuine or somehow related to, I don't know, her older husband. But that's all sort of an aside, and the key thing is, are they going to find the antidote? And pretty much as they're nearing the end of this disease, they're all extremely degenerated or old. Kirk kind of hits on why was the reason Chekhov wasn't affected. He was scared. He was scared to death. And they kind of connect this to adrenal activity. And apparently in the Star Trek universe here, adrenaline was a radiation treatment, because they have determined it was this comet that left some kind of radiation that is causing this degeneration. So they work to come up with an antidote, which they do. But in the meantime, the competency hearing was completed. I know I'm bouncing around here,
No,
but
it's fine.
and Kirk was relieved. Commodore Stalker is in command, and he wants to get to Starbase 10 as soon as he can. So even if it means crossing the neutral zone, which I'm not sure how that would work if Starbase 10 is in Federation space. I mean, I guess the neutral zone can have bulges and stuff like that. But
I guess the only missing line was probably like where the Commodore says, because maybe the quickest way is through the neutral zone, and so the Commodore's like break the rule or whatever. But yeah, that's the only thing I could imagine. I wondered about that too.
Yeah,
like, why couldn't you just go around it, at warp 11?
Exactly. But Commodore Stalker is famously a chair-bound paper pusher and not up for the stress of actual field command, because as soon as they enter the neutral zone, several Romulan ships appear and start firing on them.
Awesome battle on the remastered. I don't remember the original battle, but it is an awesome, pretty amazing.
Yeah, because at this point they had lost the Hua Chang model that he made for Balance of Terror, and they had planned to reuse it, but it was lost or damaged, or I forget what exactly. So they just recut the stock footage from Balance of Terror, and it's a little underwhelming. So the new effects are definitely an improvement on that scene. Cool. So Commodore Stalker is sort of frozen in ineptitude, and meanwhile Kirk volunteers to get the first shot of the antidote they've come up with, and writhing in pain or something, he transforms back into his younger self. You don't see any of this, but he appears suddenly on the bridge, and in another great tactical move, he decides to issue a command in Code 2, which he knows that has been broken. He knows that the Romulans will understand it, and says he's going to use the Corbomite device, which we all remember from season 1, and it's going to cause a great explosion. And the Romulan ships hear this and decide to withdraw. And as they withdraw, they hit the gas, and at warp 8, I think, zoom away to safety.
It's amazing he was able to get away with that twice. I would figure the Corbomite maneuver would be so famous by now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess news travels slowly in space at subwarp speeds or something. But,
the Romulans, Tal Shiar, weren't as effective in this time.
No.
At gathering intelligence. So
that's right. Yeah. So that's about it. I think there's a moment with Janet Wallace on the bridge to kind of wrap things up, but everybody is returned to normal, sort of a little incredibly, by this antidote, and the Enterprise zooms off to its next voyage. So that's the potted summary from.
Oh, and
if I missed something, let me know.
Yes, Captain Kirk and Janet Wallace make eyes at each other at the end. And
did I say Lester? Did I say Janet Lester or Janet Wallace?
Oh, no, I think it was Wallace.
It is Wallace. I might have said Lester by mistake.
Oh, maybe.
But yeah, it is definitely Wallace.
But yeah, so I imagine that there's a romance novel that takes place in between missions that we see on TV. For those of us that like to read romance novels, with Kirk and his various exploits.
Yeah,
I didn't realize how many women Kirk encounters on his journeys. But
season 2 really, past.
Season 2 really like kind of throws a few at us, which is interesting.
Who's the other one you're thinking of?
Was this the season with the judge, and wasn't she from his past?
The lawyer,
the lawyer,
Shaw. Yeah, that was in season 1, but yeah, it's another one from his past. He likes blondes, apparently.
On the planet where they had the Alice in Wonderland illusions,
Ruth.
We saw an illusion of Ruth. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I guess I'm remembering them.
Yeah.
Does Kirk remember his past exploits as well? I wonder.
But to be fair to him, Ruth we don't know, but both Ariel Shaw and Janet Wallace, they're both professional, highly accomplished women. I mean, yes, they also happen to be attractive blondes, but they're not like they're professional people. So he was interested in women who were accomplished and intelligent.
Yes, no, I agree.
And blonde.
Some people try to argue that Kirk isn't a ladies' man, but I suppose it depends.
I think he's just very futuristic. Like it's especially for, I don't know, like there's a little bit of there's a little bit less stigma around openness in relationships and stuff nowadays, but and I think for a time in the 60s there was like a love revolution, if you will, and a lot of people were exploring different dynamics over the the traditional like model. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, nowadays it's less impactful than I think it would have been maybe in a more conservative time, but I feel like overall humans have kind of like gotten over a lot of those hangups.
Yeah, and I think his reputation as sort of just liking the green slave girl of the week kind of thing is a little unearned, but for sure he's the romantic lead of the show, and generally when there was
and that comes from a lot of parody over the years too. Like you do see because they are funny, kind of. They are things that are like fun. There are things about Star Trek that are pretty funny, sometimes intentionally and then sometimes ironically. Um, and so over the years, Kirk has kind of built up, as legends do, to have all these layers that he didn't have on.
Right.
If you just look at the straight depiction on on
Yeah.
the visual record, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. It becomes it becomes a meme, before they
Yeah,
were
exactly.
memes. So yeah,
Kirk
I
has
actually
become a legend. That's amazing.
I was not. I mean, I found them, and this is kind of a really minor part of the episode, but if we're talking about it, I mean, I found their relationship kind of unconvincing. I mean, I liked them as actors; they had some chemistry, and indeed, William Shatner did briefly date Sarah Marshall, I think her name is, back in New York when they were both doing Broadway. And another
cool.
tidbit: she went on to marry Carl Held, who appeared in Return of the Archons as I forget his name, it's the Swedish name of the character. Anyway, I feel like they had chemistry, but it was kind of like there was a couple lines there. One where he's talking to her and he's kind of like calling her bluff and saying, "What are you offering me here? Love or a going away present?" Kind of like knowing at that point, yes, I'm getting older. So what is this really about? And then a couple scenes later, he then asks her, "Am I getting old? I don't know. Am I getting old? Like, should I?" When he was about to be relieved of command. So I don't know. It didn't feel like consistent to me. But I guess the story with him, it's always with any of these relationships, it's he's got the ship, and he's never going to leave the ship. So
It's true. Boatwreck PJ says, I aged 10 years watching.
yeah.
I liked it. It made me like, I like to make these like weird connections, I guess. And it made me remember the Dr. Pulaski episode where the kids were creating that aging syndrome. And I thought that the medical stuff was actually pretty good in this episode. Like, I don't know, I don't know much about like, I guess biology in the sense where I could be like, oh, I understand what's going on, in some of these like medical terms or whatever, but I could buy it. Like I could believe that this thing was happening. The makeup doesn't hold up after all these years, and it's mainly because we've actually seen these actors age, which is pretty trippy. So so it's like funny to see what they actually look like at these more various age levels, and how they thought they were gonna look.
I think that you can't really determine how someone's going to age, even if you look at The Next Generation and All Good Things. That was not on the dot at all.
But you have to do it. It's fun. I think actors enjoy episodes like this. I mean, as an audience member, I was like enjoying the idea of it. Like, I definitely saw it different as we opened with. I definitely saw it different as an adult who has now experienced age firsthand, rather than a young adult when I was like, oh, I wonder why older people are always complaining about their joints and stuff. Like I had never had pain when I was like 17 or 18. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Pain was temporary.
Yes.
Which is why, Robbie, take good care of your body, eat healthy.
That's right.
But, sometimes I succumb to the darkness.
Get enough sleep,
I believe.
No, I agree. I mean, there's something. I remember the Next Generation episode you're talking about, and I think there's always something kind of fun about seeing the actors, how they have envisioned them getting older. But yes, they certainly in general aged more gracefully in reality than they did on this episode. I mean, you look at like William Shatner now at age 90, still bouncing around. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, he's probably sharper than he's portrayed in this episode. I mean, I understand William Shatner is a different thing from Captain Kirk, as the internet will remind me. But I mean, the amount of kind of senility he's showing, like, and I think he was supposed to be between 60 and 72, and like really forgetting things. And
William Shatner, I think, I do that all the time too, because to me, like, he's definitive as all of these guys, actually, all of the original performers. I can't help sometimes being like, well, that's the definitive person who could play that that role. But Chris Pine and company proved me wrong. I enjoyed the 2009 film immensely, and it was the first time like I had to give up that little like idea of like, oh, only one actor could ever play this role. It was pretty cool that it worked, at least for me. But we're not here to talk about that. What did you guys think overall of this episode? And we got some questions in the audience. For example, let's see here. What was your favorite part? Please don't say the topless scene. That was directed to me, but I assume this question's for everyone. I think my favorite stuff was the senility hearing when Spock is questioning, that scene where Spock is questioning McCoy, and McCoy has to reluctantly like agree with the computer, but he's fighting it, and he's like, it's just like a very well delivered like scene, and the music's really good in that, and just the disappointment on Jim's face when just all the acting that was going on in there was like, just I was drawn in and really enjoyed that whole scene, and where he's like, I have to agree. I can't do the accent, but I have to agree with the computer. And I'm sorry, Jim. Like that, it was like a really good, good moment. But then, yes, my second favorite is the shirtless scene with Captain Kirk, and then he feels his lower back ache, and he takes a moment and pauses and wonders, what's going on?
Yeah, he needs another massage from that yeoman in shore leave.
I'm not sure about favorite part, but I really appreciated the atmosphere at the start, the kind of creepy vibe, and then I know you said the makeup didn't really hold up, but I think at the very beginning, when you were just seeing them get older, and Spock was, hi.
Yeah. Feeling a little bit better, so I thought I'd join you.
Yeah. Now we're recreating this episode where Chekhov is here. He's not aging, and the rest of us are here at different levels of age, and we're trying to figure out.
I'm the Kirk bit with the grey on the sides and going up here.
Sorry, Robbie, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please carry on. You're saying.
I was just going to say I really appreciate the makeup and seeing the subtle changes on Spock as he was just beginning to age. I really like those kind of moments, and it was very cleverly done at the beginning before it kind of became overkill.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, this is not a favorite episode. This is kind of a middle of the road sort of episode for me. It's entertaining, but I think if I had to pick, I love that moment. In the courtroom scene as well. I think that's good. But I like seeing the actors stretch and do something, just using different mannerisms. And yes, it starts subtle and then it gets a little campy towards the end. But just McCoy bringing out or Kelly bringing out the Southern accent more. Or, how Shatner would kind of slouch, and they gave him the oversized shirt so he looked kind of shriveled. And I enjoyed the performances of this episode, and I do like the moment at the end where Kirk bounds onto the bridge and full of virility and youth and health, and just is able to solve the problem like that. That's a fun moment. So cool. And I like, there's a couple little humorous moments with Chekhov I think are fun, when they're like examining Chekhov and this won't hurt. Did it, or that's what you said the last time, but did it hurt? Yes, it did hurt. Or when he's complaining on the bridge, blood sample, skin sample, marrow sample, all that stuff. I think he has a couple nice little kind of fun
roll
moments.
Over, Chekhov. Sit up.
Breathe deeply. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. That's good stuff. It's cool that every character gets like these moments. Sulu has a lot of moments too in this episode where he has to like actually like hold his kind of keep his composure, and kind of keep from like freaking out because his captain's getting senile. Ian, welcome. I'm glad you made it.
Thank you. I thought I'm feeling a little bit better, so I thought I'd join you.
Our discussion livened you up. That's good. My allergies are getting worse, so I'm glad you're here. I have to.
Yeah, and just let everybody know that Sohao and I didn't talk before to have the same T-shirt on today.
There's another t-shirt that I have to wear for tonight that I'm not wearing, but I'll take a picture of it and share it on Twitter. That I also got in the same order. I went a little happy on the Star Trek store.
Yeah, that's exactly the same as me. I've since I've lost a bit of weight and I could get a different t-shirt size. I got some large t-shirts as opposed to extra large. So yeah. I just wanted to sort of, before you were talking earlier about Kirk's girlfriends, the one that's in this episode, if you read Captain's Oath, she's in Captain's Oath.
Oh, okay.
What happens in that one?
Basically that they were dating each other, and she got basically to go off and work with this professor, this senior, whatever. And then you find both of them are very career minded. Kirk realizes, and she goes there, and then you hear later that she's married this doctor as well. And I think that's where you see the conflict. It shows with the conflict between Jim and her, because when he's getting older, he's saying, "Oh, are you just seeing the older man? Is that why you're attracted to me?" Because she'd gone off with him and she'd married somebody else when she was previously she was with Kirk. So Captain's Oath is quite good. It gives a lot more layers to a lot of Kirk's relationship, because as I said in the comments, he's a serial monogamist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
That is a great way to put it.
Yeah, because he has an awful lot of. I mean, Carol Marcus is another one, because of David. So it is another one of the blondes.
Does the motion picture novel maybe kind of? It's never been canonized supposedly, but the motion picture novel, that's where I get my ideas about Kirk and his sexuality, and I feel like it suggests that he's a serial dater, but maybe not monogamous, because he's kind of like open and.
Oh no! It's that's Gene Roddenberry trying to change things up. But
I think Gene Roddenberry was living vicariously, perhaps.
Yeah,
well, not vicariously. He was actually
living that way. Hi, Father.
Hey, Father. Jim
Kirk
himself would be, and that's that's another thing in Captain's Oath that Gary Mitchell plays on as well. That he's trying to get Jim to date more, but Jim would find somebody and fall in love and be with them until they've fallen out of love, and then he would be on to the next one. Whereas Gary was, as everybody says, everybody puts that Kirk is the womanizer, but in Captain's Oath, it's Gary Mitchell that's the womanizer, not Jim Kirk. And he tries to get Jim Kirk to be more of a womanizer, but he is the serial monogamist, without a doubt.
Interesting. Yeah, and
I
think
wouldn't think of him as a womanizer, because he is like gentle and kind and like has deep connections with all the exploits, so to speak. I shouldn't even call it that. That's an incorrect term for it. But like his relationship, his romantic relationships seem grounded, and both parties seem happy, and everything's like, I mean, he's a little rough with women sometimes, though, by my standards. Like, I think he grabs a lot, but I feel like that was something, in this era of Star Trek, men were like this for some reason, and so they're more evolved by the time.
I think that's more William. I think that's more William Shatner than anybody else, because he does the same to Spock. So
that's true.
You've got to be quite careful with that one.
He's just a handsy guy. Yeah.
He's a handsy guy. Yeah.
And I think you can make a distinction between the women that he's portrayed as actually having feelings for, versus sometimes they're in a situation where his Kirk's charisma he's using as a tool to get out of a tricky spot. So like with Sylvia and Catspaw, for example, or a little bit with I don't remember her name, the Orion girl in Whom Gods Destroy, the other green Orion girl, kind of feigning an interest to help, save my, away team here. But I think that, you can make a distinction between those situations and, when he actually has genuine feelings for someone. But
yeah, well, I think for him to have genuine feelings, they've got to be blonde.
I think it was
unless it's Edith Keeler. I mean, the one he really liked.
Well,
right?
yeah,
She was
the
the only
yeah.
brunette. Yeah, that's what made it special.
What about his Indian wife,
yeah.
Kiowani?
Oh,
Oh,
Miramani.
Kiramani. Oh my
Miramani.
God.
Miramani. Yes,
Miramani,
good point.
yeah.
Good point.
Kiramani.
He actually
Miramani, yeah.
married her. That's
That's
right.
the only time he's been married.
And then of course there's like Carol Marcus and Antonio. There's so many like wonderful. We followed.
He didn't
we
marry
followed-
them though. I don't think
well-
he married either one of them.
He didn't marry Carol
Yeah.
Marcus. I guess that's I
No,
guess
he
no,
definitely
that's
did not
right.
marry her. We don't know
No.
anything about Antonia because
He was gonna ask her. He was gonna marry Antonio. He was gonna ask her.
They just made that up one time for one movie, and it was really stupid. And that's my least favorite Star Trek movie ever. But beyond those two, yeah, I think not only did he marry her, but they were also about to have a kid together.
A kid
before she
Well,
died.
she was pregnant. Yeah.
So David was about to have a
David's
brother
brother or sister. David's brother or sister.
Yeah.
or sister.
That's
Yeah.
epic. We just covered Captain Kirk's entire romantic timeline.
It's a fun diversion. I guess the difference with Miramani is he didn't know who he was, so he was haunted by the strange lodge in the sky, but he didn't remember the Enterprise. And the Enterprise is always the thing that, spells doom for any, marriage or long-term relationship, because he always keeps coming back.
The true love of his life. Is the ship.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ruben
We
and
should-
Ruben and Father, since you're jumping in a little late, I don't know how much you heard of the discussion beforehand, but would you tell everyone just briefly like what you guys think of this episode overall? What your favorite part was, or least favorite part?
Father, go ahead.
I like the old age makeup. I think is like it's not as great as they would do today, but it looks neat to watch like the characters deteriorate. It's a little heavy-handed at times, like their interpretations of old people. And I think it was made in a time where people didn't age as gracefully as I think people do now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People like the science of like not looking super old has gotten a little bit better.
Totally. Yeah.
Like people in like their 60s now look a lot better than like people in their 60s back in the 60s.
Yeah.
But they do kind of play that kind of heavy-handedly, but it's a good like medical mystery episode. Like the doctor has to solve this medical problem. But using the Romulans was a cool way to like throw in some tension, even though we don't see the Romulans. I think it was one of the rare instances of continuity being used in the original series with the return of the Carbomite maneuver, and it's fun to see Dr. McCoy go like more southern as he gets older, and they remembered that in Encounter at Farpoint. And he does the same thing when he's
old,
older than God in that episode. That's a real thing. Like when you get like super old, like you start to revert back to like how you talked as a kid. If you had like a strong accent as a kid, like that can like
that can come back.
manifest again.
So I had like a weird hybrid because my parents have like this weird hybrid sort of British Indian. It's a very unique accent, but it sounds more British. It's like, so I'll revert to that. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, you might end up talking like that when you're 90 years old.
I'll talk like my mom. It'll be very cute.
I think
I'm just picturing
the only
us.
thing with the makeup they got right was James Doohan's hair, because he did go that white.
Scotty
Yeah,
looked really.
Shatner
Scotty
doesn't
looked hella
really
tired.
age
I
that
felt
way.
for Scotty.
Yeah.
Oh, and they clearly weren't expecting Star Trek to last for decades and decades because they don't.
No.
They have Spock like be like, oh well, I don't age as fast because I'm a Vulcan. But then when we watch like the TOS movies that came out in the 80s, like he does look 20 years older, just like everyone else.
Mm.
He
I mean, he's half
underestimated
human,
his.
so of
Yeah,
course
he
he's not gonna age as
underestimated
well
his
as
human
dad.
side.
It's the fear virus. Is this the first Chekhov scream? This is the first time Chekhov screams. Because it
Yeah.
happens a lot.
Yeah, it does happen a
I
lot.
feel like it happened before, but I don't know. But yeah,
Was
it's
it
a
in the
unique
apple?
scream.
Does he ever
I think
scream in
it's
the
the
apple?
first Chekhov scream.
I don't think he screams in the apple. That's a good question. I think it might be his first scream. I feel like he's screaming in season 3 a lot.
No,
Day
it's-
and the Dove and Way to Eden. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the movies too, he has like a very notable scream in
Yeah.
both the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the one where they go to Eden, the TV episode where they go to Eden.
The Way
It's
to
called
Eden.
The Way to
The way
Eden.
to eat
The way
it.
to Eden. He screams in that one because he gets burnt by acid.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
acid grass.
Can anyone do the Chekhov scream? I can't do it.
No.
It's too
Heading
high.
out to Eden, hey
Brother Wilhelm.
brother.
Heading out to Eden, yay, brother.
We reach.
What is the chorus again? What are the words again? It's like, don't
No
more troubles
troubles
for my body or my mind. Gonna live like a king on whatever I find.
This is the best boy group ever.
Eat all the fruit and throw away the rind. Yeah, hey, brother. Yeah, great song.
Star leads back. Watch out.
And I learned from Text Track yesterday that the actor who played that hippie came back in Little Green Men. I didn't realize it until I heard
the
it.
same actor, yeah.
Yeah, so
Charles
that's very
Napier.
cool.
But we reach.
Or just like
that was another good diversion.
I was gonna say, this episode has the same actress who plays the green-haired girl later, right?
No.
I don't know about that. No, you mean the one?
The character
The one
that
who-
was always dressed like in a pink, just like I don't know, like she's going out.
Janet Wallace.
I forget the name of the character.
That's the character, Janet Wallace. The actor is
Sarah Marshall.
She looks a lot like that girl. I don't know. Maybe
She
they're
does,
not the same actress.
you mean the one who's dressed in green on the kind
The
of
one who
like
has green
asylum planet?
hair later on? Kirk
Oh,
fights.
Shauna? No, that's Angelique Pettyjohn. Yeah, no,
Okay.
different.
Are you
actress,
thinking of
but-
the Gamesters of Triskelion?
Yeah,
Is that okay?
Lady Gaga's mum, yeah.
yeah. Yes.
yeah. The
That is
tinfoil.
Lady Gaga as well.
bra,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. We figured it out. Ruben, what did you think of this episode? Like, what was your favorite part about it?
I was laughing on the way here because I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna end up being like Robbie last week, showing up late, and then everybody talking about the episode, and me just being, I don't really have much to say." I like the old man makeup. I thought that was interesting. It's probably my least favorite episode that I've watched since I've been coming on the show doing this.
Oh, surely not. This is worse than Cat's Claw.
Not worse, but like just less interesting. Like Cat's Paw at least has the giant cat I can laugh at, and the silliness of the Halloween episode. This is just kind of like they don't even talk about the cure for like 20 minutes. I'm like, does nobody give a shit about
The
fixing
Enterprise
this
has
problem?
no. The Enterprise has. I came up with a thing in my head
Your head
continuity. The Enterprise has really competent medical technicians who can do the work while they're in the court. So McCoy would have tended to that and made sure that there were still advanced.
Yeah, I still don't
advances
know
being made.
if a
And then
court martial
afterwards they
in the
have their
middle of all this.
debrief. That's why they have a debrief thing. Is
It's really
because McCoy like learns what progress they made while the while the hearing was going on. But yeah, you're right. Even Captain Kirk complains in the episode that it was weird that they're choosing to have a hearing during a crisis.
Right, while he's aging to death, like
Yeah.
maybe give him
contention,
a week
but
off so he can die happy, having doing what he wants.
I think it was cool. I think that was cool for me. That I like that stuff because I think his contention, the contention Kirk was trying to make was that use my knowledge while you have it. Like I've got all this I'm a good commander. Like I can do this. Even with mistakes, I trust my crew to correct for me. And he was very so I think that's the point he was trying to make. And I thought it was well done in the episode. I thought that came across, at least for me.
Yeah. So did anybody notice that the Chekhov wig makes an appearance in the very last scene?
yes. They cut a clip from a shot from a mock time, I think, or it was from a mock time. But yeah, when he had the wig on, very good eye. Yeah.
The ladies' makeup, Keika's Eternal says the ladies' makeup was horrific.
Yeah, we didn't mention her. I feel bad about that. Yeah, no, hers was pretty unconvincing.
Well,
a
but at
stupid least
place to put a mirror. Yeah.
Well, they took it away after that. So.
Jace is happy to see Ian or Fathery or Ruben. I'm not sure, or all three of you. So that's good. I'm also happy to see you guys.
I'm always happy to see all of you.
Yay. Ageless
my week.
example, Doug Jones. Did you see his birthday picture? Yeah, he is very ageless. Correct.
Well, he's in his 60s, isn't he? So yeah.
For the 60s, the old age makeup was pretty good. I wish they would have done a little bit more with the body, other than just kind of the physicality. But it looked pretty good. Except maybe when Bones is like this decrepit monster at the end. He's terrifying at the end. With the red eyes. Like,
I'm
He's
not
like
a magician, Spock. I'm just an old country doctor.
I suspected so much.
I'm not dead. Like in a Monty Python Holy Grail. I'm not dead. Yes, you are. Shut up.
It has a ton of great exchange between the triad, if you will, and it has a lot of great McCoy one-liners.
When Spock's like,
I was going to say the Southern drawl. It comes out 3 times?
Well, more as he gets older. More as he gets older.
Yeah, we got and also the one obviously where
This Side is Paradise.
I've forgotten the episode where they go to the planet and there's no animals, but they've got the where Spock falls in love.
Yeah, This Side of Paradise.
This side of paradise. So we've got This Side of Paradise. Obviously, we've got the Deadly Years, and we've also got Encounter at Farpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other times the Southern Drawl comes out?
I feel like it comes out here and there, but not. Maybe that's just
Not
my
so much.
imagination. I don't know.
DeForest Kelly, when he's out of character, actually has more of a Southern accent than he does when he's playing Dr. McCoy, which I always thought that's like really interesting. Because like I used to talk with like a thicker Texas accent, but then like I started to like lose that, and now like I kind of miss it. Now I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I should try to like bring that back.
I have a
Feel
pet peeve I want to bring up that I've now heard in Star Trek about Romulans and Klingons, and maybe other species that they don't take captives,
Don't take prisoners. Yeah,
and
Except
I'm
for
like,
when they do.
right. And number one, number two, it's like any military organization of that level knows prisoners are a good thing.
well, I've
They
always wanted
provide
them.
knowledge.
I've wanted them to like cut the scene from Star Trek 2 with the scene from Star Trek 3 where Kirk says, "Prayer, Mr. Savick, the Klingons don't take prisoners," and then immediately cut to Krug. "I wanted prisoners," from the planet. But yeah, whatever works in the moment, I guess.
Yeah. So I realized today with this episode, I'm like, there's that there. They said it again. Like there it is again. Stop that.
Yeah.
I feel like in world that's suggestive of the propaganda that Starfleet delivers to its
could be.
Its officers and
Otherwise,
its
what's
service
Rurapente
people.
for? Why do they have
Yeah,
Rurapente?
Yeah, exactly.
And it sort of really debunks the Enterprise incident as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There are no prisoners on Rurapente.
Originally, the Kobayashi Maru in Wrath of Khan was going to be with the Romulan neutral zone, and
Oh, do you know why they
that would have
changed it just
been
because
a
of the stock
callback to
footage?
this.
Probably.
Yeah, they used as many assets from the motion picture as they possibly could, except for the uniforms. They spent money to upgrade the uniforms, but everything else, if we can reuse it from the motion picture, we're going to reuse it because we have no budget for this movie.
Yeah.
That's smart filmmaking.
It's kind of it's sort of about. Sorry, go ahead.
on, Adam.
No.
What
All
I
right.
was going to say was that you say about the bird of prey in the films, it was going to be Romulan bird of prey. Then they changed it to Klingons, but they still kept the bird of prey.
Yeah, see, we were going to say the same thing. So it's
gotcha.
it's just yeah.
I just beat you to the punch, Adam. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
The
that's
Romulans
fine.
kept stealing the Klingons kept stealing the thunder of the Romulans. Like every time they're about to do like Romulans in a movie, the Klingons would just swoop in and be like, "No, we're still in the spotlight."
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the ancillary material surrounding Star Trek when I was growing up that I used to read and look at always seemed to suggest that the Klingons and the Romulans had very similar technology, and almost maybe
There was a pact. Yeah.
there's a or even like a design similarity. Maybe they had the same vendors.
There was. They
Yeah, I
actually
don't
play
know.
on it on the Enterprise incident. They actually do have a treaty at one point, and that's why in the Enterprise incident you've got like Romulans with D7s or
There we go.
D6s or whatever in the Enterprise incident. So that's where that sort of come from. I think I think the Romulans got the ships, and then the Klingons got the cloaking technology. It was that type of.
That was the idea. Yeah, Discovery kind of messed that up because that showed Klingons cloaking
The cloaking
a
technology.
decade earlier. I still like to believe the Romulans. Wouldn't that just be a great way for like the Romulans to kind of poke at the Federation and be like, we're going to go give some cloaking devices to the Klingons and
Right.
see what happens.
See what happens.
See what happens.
It's almost like back in the late '90s when Pakistan got the nuclear bomb and they got it from some either Pakistan gave something to North Korea or the other way around. I forget which, but it's like let's arm ourselves against the Federation that's
Yeah.
out there and just spread this stuff around to cause problems.
Yeah.
That's a great real world connection. I didn't know that about Pakistan, but I knew they had nuclear arms to go against India being the Federation
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
analogy.
I don't understand the
Which
chain
is-
of
I mean,
command on the
it's-
Enterprise.
Yeah.
Kirk,
about it,
Spock,
it's really
Scotty,
cheeky
and then
for
random
Pakistan.
person who's there.
Well, the Commodore, I think, which is I found out on. By the way, thank you for the shout out. I started listening to Bad Choices in Bourbon with our Dadmiral, Trek Cat Ian. So everyone go check that out.
Yeah,
that
I
was very
started
sweet. I was like, oh, I didn't want to cry while I'm listening to this, but I did. And I'm not finished listening to the episode, but it's pretty interesting so far. I didn't know a lot of the cool stories. Yeah, that you go
We
through. It's
talked
very
for a
neat.
long time, and it felt like it went like that. And I think I'm the second longest episode that there is.
That's cool. Yeah, so
But
shout
yeah.
out to the Commodore in our real life, Dan Decker.
Dan Decker.
So, but anyways, the Commodore, I think the Commodore was just like kind of happy with like letting the ships just function normally until he has to step in. But this Commodore was pretty wishy-washy. I thought he was like a bit scared, and I don't know, what was his father? Did they mention like what his division or his specialty was, or what what?
he was
now?
He's
gonna
got a
have
red
a space
shirt,
station,
so
right?
yeah, like I assume he was more of like engineering type dude. He's probably like overseeing like ship refits and stuff
Gotcha.
like that. Didn't have to deal with military choices very often. I think like looking back now, we would probably be like, well, why couldn't like Sulu, take command in that situation? Like Sulu has a bit of experience on the Enterprise at this point, but
Yeah.
it's one of those examples of they do this a lot. We were just talking about Star Trek 3. If we think about like Styles and JT Esteban, they'll have like commanders in Starfleet that seem kind of weak in order to make our hero seem better. The whole point of that Commodore is to be like we need Kirk back in action here to save the day, and then you have the moment where he comes onto the bridge, and
I thought JT
Just
Esteban
code
was
two.
pretty awesome, by the way. But I know
JT Esteban is terrible. I hate him. I'm so glad he got blown up. He sucks.
And
I think
Commander
if this
Styles
was
like
done in the
wasn't.
Kelvin, Sulu would have taken over. If
And
this was the
Captain-
Kelvin timeline, Sulu would have taken over.
Yeah, Captain Styles.
Styles is just a prick.
yeah, but he seemed
But
like he was
JT
competent.
Esteban is incompetent. Yeah, he's just like this wet blanket, just like, oh no, I don't know what to do.
I like that Styles carried around a riding crop. Like that was just a cool, right? That's what
Yeah.
it was. Like he just like I don't know why that was cool looking, but it was. It's like the old,
Yes, you can
Alec
like
Guinness.
spank his bridge officers with that.
He
What
probably
the hell's
taps
going on
you
with him?
if your posture's not good. He probably taps you with it, like a little light tap on your lower back.
Touching the lower
That,
back. Yeah.
that just reminds me of my old drill sergeant in basic training. He had a pace stick and everything, and it would actually split into two, so you could actually get the right distances for when you're in on parade.
Well, is there anything else about this episode? I'm gonna try to keep our discussion at about an hour that you guys felt like was important to talk about or bring up.
I was just going to say, because Ruben brought up, it was just the faces that were really affected, and I understand that was because of the budget of the show, but it'd be interesting if one of the characters maybe had a wheelchair, or even Pike's chair and they were getting a boat in that. Or maybe Pike could. This is just a bit jokey, but maybe Pike could turn up and kind of taunt Kirk and say, "I age better than you, and look at me."
He would
This
be
is exactly the kind of thing that brings about those legends we were talking about earlier in the
Yeah.
episode. All this like
They could have
But
Kirk
then
in the
it's
chair
funny.
giving the orders at the end, and somehow Chekhov understand all the beeps.
Oh, I wanted to say that
Say,
even
what about maneuver?
I wanted to say that even though it was contrived, I did get into and was like kind of like enjoying the scene where the Commodore has no idea what to do. He's like, I don't know
Yes.
what to do. I don't know. And then
Yeah.
Kirk runs in.
Yeah.
From, he runs. It's like a nice wide shot, and like you see him running, and he's like, do this, this, and that. Do this, this. You know, he's like engineering. I need power
Yeah,
right now
he's
in 4
just
minute or whatever.
on
and
top of
and
it.
yeah, he's
Again,
totally
I
on
have,
top.
to, I have to question Starfleet's entire training program for how they're training people, like for what the protocol is on these super expensive starships.
But
Well,
I did,
think-
I did get into that moment, even though again it was contrived, and it was again that example that Father was making of like creating a character who's like a bit of a buffoon and doesn't know what to do to make the hero.
Yeah,
look a
I
little
did like
better.
I did like the acting for going to Warp 8.
Well,
I
it's
think they-
the same thing with that line. They take no prisoners. It's just to
Right.
create this instant. Oh shit! That's it. Instant threat. That just when you use it every other episode or whatever, and every species takes no prisoners, but then takes prisoners. But then like it's just don't use it. You know, let it rest for a little while. I mean,
Yeah.
then again, this is 1966, so
I
gotta
think
remember.
I think Boatrek's got the best quotes of the night. I think that's the best note.
This
This
episode got
episode
old.
gets old quickly.
I think they were going to, when Kirk gets the antidote, they were originally planning to shoot that where they would show him slightly less staged in sickbay, then slightly more. They would, cut to the bridge, cut back to him like going onto the turbo lift, slightly less staged, and then coming out. But they didn't have the time or the budget for it. So then you get this kind of weird sort of crotch shot of him
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
true.
writhing around for a couple minutes, but you don't see anything happening to his face, and then he just appears suddenly on the bridge, as
I
you
thought
pointed out.
Sarah Marshall
A
did
reverse
do a
Jekyll
good
and
job
Hyde.
though of delivering like the surprise of watching someone de-age, because she was like, whoa, like it was almost like she kind of said it in this weird way, like his vital bodily fluids are returning to normal or something.
Yeah.
I forget what it was exactly, but I was like, oh yeah.
I don't think it was that, but yeah.
It was something like that.
I think the one thing that I always found odd: why is it McCoy is the only one whose hair grows?
Oh, that's right. It's like, in
He
front of
gets
his eyes.
his fringe gets longer and longer, but everybody else's doesn't grow. And you would have thought
Yeah.
if you're aging really quickly, your hair would grow as well, or you'd lose it. If it's Shatner, you'd lose it. But it was
Yeah,
just
no.
McCoy's hair that grew.
Yeah.
And then obviously Chekhov's does right at the very end because of the wig.
Cake is Eternal makes a good point. Starfleet training also comes into question. When you see a dead body, run screaming.
Well, yeah, when you see a Klingon
He's-
attack on
he's a young
site,
ensign.
when you see like
Yeah,
He's not used to
it's
that.
true. He isn't used to that. It's true. We can forgive Chekhov.
The only other interesting factoid from this is that it canonically establishes what Kirk's age is. So he says he's 34. I'm 34 years old. So he's 4 years younger than Shatner, I guess. 3 years maybe younger than the actor who portrays him. But I mean, you can kind of go down a little bit of a rabbit hole with their ages, and are they aging roughly 30 years for each day? But then Spock is now on the high side of 100. So is Spock actually about 70-ish years old? So he's not really Kirk's generation at all, which sort of makes sense if he was in the Enterprise 13 years before. But then is his mom is a human? So did she have him when she was really old? So I don't know. I was thinking about that. Yeah.
There's a part in the episode that I think answers that question a little bit when Kirk questions why is what was the lieutenant's name, the young
Galway.
Lieutenant Galway, why is she's younger than him, why is she older now?
People age differently.
And then he says something about like, Jim, I don't know, people age at a different rate. Like, different people or something like that. It's like so I think that is kind of true.
Well, if your DNA knows what your time limit is Maybe
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
aging relative to your max age, you know?
Max age or whatever. But I think that's true
My
because
favorite,
I see folks my age that look a lot better than I do, and some folks my age that look.
I mean,
a
I'm
lot worse
22 and I look fucking terrible.
than-
My favorite Dr. McCoy moment was when Spock was talking about like, oh, I'm getting so cold. I've had to increase the temperature in my quarters to 125 degrees. And McCoy is just like, well, I ain't making no house calls to you. I say that as someone
Yeah.
That was one of the
currently,
one-liners I
currently
loved.
living
yes.
in hotter than hell Texas, where our power grid is like, don't run your AC too much or it might break down again.
Yeah.
We get brownouts. We have to be careful in Florida too. We get those notices, and it's really bad. My air conditioner broke over the. I think y'all remember probably me talking about it on the air, but it
Yeah.
had broken for like a couple weeks, and it was brutal. Thank goodness it wasn't this time of year. Not fun. Which is why humanity should all migrate to the northern territories, so that we can.
It's
No.
getting warmer here
Well,
too.
eventually-
You know,
No, I know.
It
Yeah,
was, Robbie.
well,
It was.
y'all-
It's not anymore.
just
It's cooled
yeah.
right down again.
I actually heard someone. I heard someone in the UK say this. Like, they're not that concerned with climate change because y'all don't use air conditioning or air across the pond. So when climate change does like heat up the earth enough, you'll just start using aircon in Britain, and it'll be okay, right?
That'd be about right. We'll have a temperate. We'll have temperate temperatures then. Maybe it'll stop
Yeah.
raining so much.
I always joke that
Yeah.
I want to buy beachfront property on Colorado.
Now we're crossing over into Superman territory. But before we wrap up, Fathery, did you just? I know I'm asking you in public. I could just ask you later, but I'm on a bit of a time crunch after this episode. Are you caught up with Superman and Lois and Loki finally?
I am. I watched both of those last night.
Oh my gosh, excellent! All right, I'll talk to you about it later. But I just wanted to know.
Both
I have
very
to know.
good. Highly recommend both shows.
Can I say
Excellent.
one more thing?
Yes, please.
I think this was the base of a good episode, but it wasn't very complex. And maybe if this episode had had something like ageism come into play, it would have been more interesting.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think the closest it comes is Kirk dealing with it's handled a little like touched upon, I think, with Kirk dealing with Wallace's feelings for him as he's aging, but it's just like brushed. It's like
I think they
lightning.
should digitally add Pulaski to this episode for no reason.
They should. Dr. Pulaski should have been in this episode. Ruben, why don't you go first with your final thoughts and ratings, and tell folks where they can find you.
Yeah, I agree with Robbie. Like, I think that the surface level ideas of the episode were good. There was a good foundation there, but it doesn't really go anywhere very interesting. The tension's not very tense. The buffoonery character, for the sake of we need somebody to do something stupid to a lot of questions I have about Starfleet Protocol. So I ended up somewhere around a 3 out of 10 on it. I was
Not
like,
on the rewatch list.
Yeah. And as far as where people can find me, popaxteam.com. I just posted an interview with Matthew James, composer of the film The Djinn, who also worked on Black Lightning and several other stuff. So popaxteam.com, roomorg.com, ruben-writes.com, and rmartian on Twitter.
Very
Take it
nice.
away.
Father, what did you think? Final thoughts and ratings.
I mean, any type of like middle of the road, kind of more mediocre episode of the original series, I'm always going to give it like a 7 out of 10, just because I enjoy the show so much. I enjoy the production design and the music and everything else so much that even like a mediocre episode feels like a 7 out of 10. I don't really have any major problems with anything in this one, but nothing great really stands out. Just little subjective stuff like, oh, it's cool to see like the Romulans in action and stuff like that. Yeah, 7. I'll give it 7. I don't even know. I didn't think it's something clever to say.
7 Kirk
seven somethings out of 10 something.
7 Kirk backaches.
Seven cat ears for Kirk.
Oh, there we go. Speaking of Catterday and cats and Trek cat, your turn, sir.
And
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much there with what Fathery was saying. It's an average episode. I like it. I enjoy it. I think it's entertaining. It's maybe we could have seen some more with the ageism and all that stuff. Yes, it would have made it a better episode. But I'm going to give it a 6.5, purely because I enjoy it. I'll give it 6.5 needles for Chekhov on this one. Yeah, I mean, where you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Instagram. Primarily, I'm pretty much concentrating on my losing weight at the moment. I do have a YouTube channel, and as Sohail said, I'm on this week's episode of Bad Choices in Bourbon with my chat with Dan Decker. Not a lot of Star Trek on it. We do go on to an awful lot of different franchises and everything else, but it was. I think we actually went on for about an hour and 3/4. So he edited about 15 minutes out of it. We were there, but it's an hour and a half. But it just felt like 5-10 minutes. It was a great chat, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Excellent. Hey, Sub Commander, where were you in this Romulan battle?
I was back getting my commission on Romulus, maybe.
What are your final thoughts and ratings? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with what everyone has said. I think this is a fairly run-of-the-mill episode. It has its entertaining moments. I mean, the concept is, just on the border between interesting but a little hokey. I'd probably give it a 5 or a 6 out of 10. I guess. I mean, I'll give it a 6 because of the appearance of the Romulans in it, and I enjoyed the performances of the actors doing something a little different, and a couple good little Chekhov funny moments. So, yeah, well, let's say 6 out of 10, and you can find me on Twitter at SubCommanderT or at Mr. Leslie TOS.
Excellent. Who's that Darth Vader breathing over you? Was that you, Ruben? Oh, someone. Was that? I was doing it. Sorry.
It's just you were, feeling the aging process.
Yeah.
COPD.
It is. It's Ruben. I figured it's you. You were blowing in the wind. Oh no! Okay, stop it. You guys are making me crazy. Robbie, take us out. Oh no, I have to give my. I tricked you guys. I usually go first. I didn't give my rating or my final thoughts. Oh my goodness.
So let Robbie go first. Go last for once. Let Robbie go. Go on, Robbie.
Go, Robbie.
I'd give it 5 Severn draws out of 10. If you want,
that's a good rating choice.
Want to find me, you can find me on YouTube at Earl Grey Trekkie, and on Twitter. And if you like Star Trek and you're on Facebook, then feel free to join Trek Talk, a new Star Trek Facebook group.
Excellent. And if you like Doctor Who, there's also a Doctor Who group
called The Whovians.
The Whovians. Sounds like a sitcom. I like it. I'm going to give this episode a 7 as well. And I really like some of the moments. There's a lot of great nuggets in this episode, especially surrounding Dr. McCoy. Just a lot of little, humorous things. I think that the tension just kind of fails a little bit with the court scene, even though I did like a lot of the things that happen in the hearing, rather, I should say. But it just kind of like doesn't fit quite well. I think they should cut back to like, you know, the lab, and maybe there should have been more back and forth perhaps, and then maybe they're forced to end it perhaps because of the action going on. I don't know, but but it was beautifully acted, and I did like that about it. So that's why I gave it a 7. Like Fathery, I just enjoy TOS. Like, you know, not even the bad episodes are just fun. You know, to watch. The quote unquote bad episodes are fun to watch. So yeah, it was fun to watch. Not sure I would put it on that list of rewatches though. So thanks guys for joining me again. Quick channel update. Starfleet Boy, the TOS discussions, we're gonna still air them, but they're gonna be pre-recorded for a few weeks because I have to help my parents with some medical appointments and things like that, and I'm their main shuttlecraft driver, so sometimes I have to do that first. So the next few will be pre-recorded without a live chat. I'm sorry, but maybe we'll do them as premieres, and maybe one of these fine gents will hang out in the chats during the premieres and keep y'all company, and so you can have a laugh or two. Anyways, live long and prosper, and we will see you guys next time.